Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. I'm going to play a video here of the ratha-yatra that took place in Köln or Cologne a few days ago. And I want to start and end this video by claiming very loud and clear that I respect and admire every single Vaishnava and Vaishnavi in this video. I admire and respect and glorify and find glorious the fact that they are performing the Yuga Dharma as we understand it, the chanting of the holy name in Sankirtan, and that activity itself is inconceivably superior to any other activity in the material world. I mean, the list is long, okay? So I want it to be very clear because I'm going to make a critique here. I'm going to make a criticism or a critique, and I don't want it to be, misunderstood. Or because I know people are going to say, oh, why are you criticizing? Why are you criticizing? I'm making an observation as a servant of Iskcon, as a member of Iskcon, as a servant of Iskcon who only wants the good of Iskcon and only wants, the movement to spread all over the world as Prabhupada so much wanted it to. So here we go. Look at this. Now, if you go on Facebook, you've probably seen this 100 times. In Western cities, whether it's America, New York, Miami, Atlanta, Auckland, Sydney, Berlin, you have these communities of Russian devotees, and again, with all due respect to them, and all glories to their bhakti, and the Russian, it's mostly Russian women, Vaishnavis, come together, and not only do they dress up in saris, but in most cases, these saris, as you can see here, are of the same color, of the same style, and they just dress exactly the same. Now, I personally think this is a disaster. This is a disaster, a preaching disaster. The nonverbal language here is disastrous. What is it actually telling the world? What is it telling the West? It's telling the West, for one thing, well, look, this is sort of a carnival, a festival, like a circus, like like Cirque du Soleil, the circus has come into town. Ooh, look at that. It's an entertaining other culture kind of show, okay? Is that what Harinam Sankirtan is supposed to be, right? In the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, we do hear, and I always quote this verse, Gyane parayasa mutapasyana eva jivanti san mukaritam bhavadiya varta, that famous verse where Krishna says, or Lord Brahma says, one conquers Krishna while remaining in one's established situation, stanistitaha. So, where is the justification for dressing up radically differently from the rest of society? Unless you're a monk, unless you're a male monk or a nun, and you have a uniform of a renounced person who has, made a cross on society, friendship, and love, and who lives, in a monastery away from society, praying for the world and so on. Okay, fine, you have a uniform. That's understandable. But where is the justification for householders? And most of these women, 99%, if not 100% of these women here, are not nuns. They're, they're probably married or trying to get married or living in society, paying their bills and so on. So where is the justification, not only for dressing radically different from society, but then on top of that, and this is where I really have the issue, where every single one of these women here is dressed exactly the same. I mean, even if you want to argue, now, no, this is the dress of the spiritual world, this is the dress of this person, and ultimately, that's the whole argument, isn't it? I call this imitatio Krishna. In the Christian world, there's this notion of imitatio Christi, where, you'll dress like Christ did, or you'll actually even enact crucifixions. You see, like in the Philippines, it's often done, where guys will actually get crucified to relive, the bhava, the emotion of the crucifixion of Christ. So it's called, imitatio, to imitate Christ. So in a similar way, you have this, what I call imitatio Krishna. And I call it Sahajiyism, where there's this idea that if we can just somehow imitate how Krishna and the gopis dress, as described in the 10th canto, and even then that's problematic because there's no mention of sari. The gopis are mentioned as wearing a belt. So anyway, even if they do wear saris and whatever, Krishna can wear whatever he wants, and the gopis can wear whatever they want. And if the Goswamis, visualize the gopis as wearing saris, so be it, because Krishna is so kind to accommodate himself, including his shaktis, for the pleasure of his loving devotees. But putting that theological parenthesis aside, even assuming that in the spiritual world all the the manjaris and the gopis are wearing saris, they don't dress in the same exact color. They don't wear the same exact color. So not only is it sort of Sahajism, but we can also say it's almost Mayavadi. Like why same color? Why same color? So I think this is a disaster. It's a disaster of public preaching. It's telling the people of Köln and of Europe that, look, if you want to be a devotee of Krishna, you got to give up your, chaste, modest, European, clean, women's clothes, and you got to put on this Bengali / North Indian, and even if you want to call it Vaikuntha, first of all, we don't go to Vaikuntha, we go to Goloka. But anyway, Vaikuntha dress, I'm sorry, that's just not theologically correct. Our theology is rather, come as you are, put whatever clothes are from your own social culture, clean them, make sure they're chaste and modest and clean. That's called sattvaguna, guys. That's what's called sattvaguna, and that's what the Bhagavad Gita teaches. Live in sattva and put Krishna in the mix. That's it. Nothing more. Nothing more. You just live in sattvaguna, dress in sattvaguna, and put Krishna in the mix. You go back to Godhead. You live a perfectly Krishna conscious life. And this is not the message. What's being preached here is, no, you got to give up your culture. You got to give up your Western way of dressing, however clean and Sunday best as it may be. And you got to adopt whatever you want to call it, the dress of Vaikuntha, the dress of Goloka, the dress of West Bengal. And that's the only way to really practice bhakti yoga. And that's a disastrous message. That's a disastrous message. So again, I started by saying all glories to these devotees. They're glorious for performing the Sankirtan Yajna. I fall at their feet. I beg their mercy. I admire them. I respect them. Every one of them should become, spiritual masters. You name it. Yeah, there's nothing more to add than that.